All right, let's dive into a world of fae and forbidden romance and shattered magic. Because today we're looking at A Court of Honey and Ash,
Oh, yeah.
the first book in the Honey and Ice series.
Okay.
You shared the Audible listing for the audiobook, and we're also going to peek at some Amazon reviews
Awesome.
to see what other readers are saying.
Yeah.
By the end of this deep dive, you'll have a good idea if this book should be your next literary escape.
It's like we're getting a multi-layered view of the book itself.
Right.
Plus, we're getting a glimpse into what other people thought about it.
Exactly.
That's a lot more information to work with.
So the story revolves around this character, Calic.
Okay.
She's half human, half fae orphan,
Oh, wow.
which already makes her life pretty complicated, right?
It definitely sets her up as an outsider in both worlds.
Yeah,
Imagine not fully belonging anywhere,
right.
constantly straddling two different cultures and expectations.
Yeah,
That can be a powerful source of conflict for a character.
absolutely. And she's this skilled fighter, but she secretly yearns for something more, for a normal life. Which is kind of heartbreaking when you think about it.
Yeah.
She's also secretly in love with this guy who doesn't seem to feel the same way.
Interesting.
The listing doesn't say why, but wouldn't you be curious to find out?
It makes you wonder if it's something specific to their relationship,
Yeah,
or if it speaks to a larger prejudice against half-fae individuals in this world.
right.
It's a great hook that makes you want to understand the societal dynamics at play.
Totally. And speaking of societal dynamics, things get really interesting when Underhill,
Okay.
this mystical realm that's basically the source of all fae power, suddenly shatters.
Oh,
No fae can enter anymore.
really?
And they're all going crazy without that connection.
Wow.
It's like their life force is being drained away.
That sounds intense.
So what's fascinating here is that the shattering of Underhill doesn't just create external chaos.
Yeah.
It also sets up a really intriguing internal conflict for Colic, because she's the only one who knows the secret of who caused it.
Oh.
And the listing makes it clear that this knowledge is super dangerous, but it doesn't say why.
Yeah.
It's like, what's the big deal?
Yeah.
What's so terrifying about knowing who shattered Underhill?
That mystery alone would keep me reading.
Right.
And think about the implications.
Yeah.
We've got a whole society on the brink of collapse, a heroine with a dangerous secret, and a forbidden love story brewing.
It's a lot.
It's a classic fantasy setup,
Yeah.
but the execution here feels fresh and exciting.
Okay. So we've got this half-fae heroine on the run from the very guy she's in love with, who's also trying to figure out who destroyed their entire magical realm.
Right,
Talk about a high-stakes situation.
for sure.
But you know what really struck me in those Amazon reviews?
What's that?
A lot of readers are pointing out that the ancient, crazy powerful magic that created Underhill was somehow destroyed with a single touch. Doesn't that seem almost impossible? Like,
Yeah.
what could be that strong?
It really makes you question the established power dynamics in this world.
Right.
If something that ancient and powerful can be wiped out so easily,
Yeah,
it suggests there are forces at play that we haven't even begun to understand.
that's true.
And some of the reviewers are suggesting that this power might be connected to Calic's human side.
Oh, interesting.
Maybe there's a forgotten magic within humanity that even the Fae don't grasp.
Ooh, that's a cool theory.
Yeah.
It kind of flips the script on the whole fair superior trope, doesn't it?
It definitely adds another layer of intrigue.
Yeah.
And it makes you wonder if Calic's quest isn't just about restoring Underhill,
Mm-hmm.
but also about discovering her own hidden potential.
Right. That's what I love about a good fantasy novel.
What's
It
that?
takes you on a wild ride through a magical world.
Yeah.
But it also makes you think about bigger questions of power identity and what it means to be human.
Exactly. And a Court of Honey and Ash seems to be doing that really well.
For sure.
It's not just a mindless escape. It's a story that makes you think and feel, which is what we're all looking for in a good book, right?
Absolutely.
So welcome back to our deep dive into A Court of Honey and Ash.
Okay.
We've already uncovered a lot about the plot,
Yeah.
the main character Calic, and the mysterious shattering of Underhill.
Right.
But what really struck me about those Amazon reviews is how much readers are connecting with Calic's struggle to find her place in a world that seems determined to keep her on the fringes.
Oh, absolutely. And remember, she's half human, half fae.
Right.
So she's an outsider in both societies.
Yeah.
And from what I'm gathering, the authors don't shy away from exploring the prejudice and discrimination that comes with that.
It's like they've taken this classic fantasy trope of the half-breed hero
Uh-huh.
and infused it with a real sense of social commentary.
Interesting.
It makes you think about how we treat those who are different, even in our own world.
You know, one reviewer even mentioned that they appreciated how the book tackles these themes without being preachy or heavy-handed.
Yeah.
They said it felt really organic and thought-provoking.
That's a tough balance to strike. But it sounds like the authors have managed to weave those real-world issues into the fabric of the story in a way that feels authentic and engaging.
Right.
It makes you want to keep reading to see how Calic navigates those challenges and ultimately finds her place in the world.
And speaking of challenges, let's circle back to the shattering of Underhill.
Okay.
I know it's a central mystery in the book, but I'm still a little fuzzy on the specifics.
Okay.
How did it happen?
Yeah.
And what are the long-term consequences for the Fae?
The how is a big part of the mystery that Calic is trying to unravel.
Right.
But what we do know is that Underhill wasn't just some random realm.
Okay.
It was like a spiritual anchor for the Fae. Their connection to ancient magic and power.
So when it shattered, it was like cutting off their life support?
Exactly, and the reviewers are saying that the Fae are basically experiencing a magical withdrawal.
Oh, wow.
They've become addicted to the power of Underhill.
Yeah.
And now they're suffering the consequences.
That's rough.
Some are going mad, others are losing their magical abilities. It's a pretty bleak picture.
It makes Calic's quest even more urgent.
For sure.
She's not just trying to solve a mystery, she's trying to save her people from a slow and agonizing death.
And she's doing it while being hunted by the very people she's trying to save.
Oh, no.
Talk about pressure.
I know.
But that's what makes her such a compelling character.
Yeah.
You see her determination, her resourcefulness, her willingness to fight for what she believes in, even when the odds are stacked against her.
Absolutely. And what about the romance aspect?
Okay.
Is there any indication of whether the guy she's in love with is on her side or not?
That's the million-dollar question.
Right.
The reviews are pretty tight-lipped about the details of their relationship.
Oh.
But there are hints of a possible alliance forming.
Really?
One reviewer even used the phrase, enemies to lovers,
Interesting.
which always gets my heart racing.
So we've got a world on the brink of collapse, a heroine with a dangerous secret, a forbidden romance simmering in the background, and a mystery that could rewrite the history of magic itself.
That's a lot.
It sounds like the authors have created a world that's both enchanting and dangerous, with characters who are both flawed and heroic.
And it seems like they've struck a great balance between action-packed adventure and those quieter moments of character development and introspection. You get those heart-pounding chase scenes and magical battles.
Yeah.
But you also get glimpses into Calic's inner thoughts and struggles.
Right.
Which makes you root for her even more.
Okay, so we've covered a lot of ground here.
Yeah.
We've talked about the world, the characters, the plot, the themes. But what really stands out to you is the most intriguing element of this deep dive.
That's a tough one.
Yeah.
There's so much to love about this book.
I know, right?
But if I had to choose, I think it's the way the authors have woven together those elements of fantasy, romance, and mystery.
I agree.
It's like they've taken familiar tropes and breathed new life into them,
Right.
creating a story that feels both fresh and familiar at the same time.
I agree with you there. And what about the writing itself?
Okay.
What are reviewers saying about the author's style?
From what I've gathered, the writing is described as being both beautiful and accessible. One reviewer even said that the prose flowed like honey,
Oh, wow.
which I thought was a fitting description given the title.
Yeah.
But beyond the lyrical quality of the writing, reviewers are also praising the pacing.
Okay.
They say it's a fast-paced read that keeps you on the edge of your seat from beginning to end.
That's great to hear. I'm always a sucker for a book that can sweep you away into another world and make you forget about your own problems for a while.
Yeah.
But let's be real, not every book is going to be a hit with everyone.
Right.
Were there any negative reviews or criticisms that you came across?
You know, it's interesting because even the reviews that weren't entirely glowing still acknowledged the strengths of the book. Some readers felt that certain aspects like the world building or the magic system could have been explored in more detail.
Okay.
But those criticisms were often framed as a desire for more rather than a condemnation of what was already there.
That makes sense. It's like they were so invested in the world and the characters that they just wanted more of it.
Yeah.
And it sounds like the ending leaves some questions unanswered and hints at a much larger story unfolding.
Exactly. It seems like A Court of Honey and Ash is just the first chapter in a much longer saga.
Oh, cool.
Which is exciting news for those of us who are already hooked on this world and its inhabitants.
Okay, so I've got a book with strong characters, a compelling plot, a unique magic system, and a dash of forbidden romance.
Sounds like a winner.
Sounds like a recipe for a fantastic read.
Right.
But before we move on to the final part of our deep dive, I want to pose a question to you.
Okay.
What aspect of the story resonated most with you?
You know what really struck me is the idea of a world where magic is both powerful and fragile. The fact that something as ancient and seemingly indestructible as Underhill could be shattered with a single touch raises so many questions about the nature of power
Yeah.
and the potential consequences of its misuse.
Right.
It makes you think about how easily things we take for granted can be broken,
It really does.
and how important it is to protect the things we value.
That's a really insightful observation. It
Yeah.
speaks to the inherent tension within the story, the struggle between those who seek to control magic and those who seek to understand and preserve it.
Yeah.
And that theme is mirrored in Calic's own personal journey as she tries to find her place in a world that often feels hostile to her very existence.
Right, and it makes you wonder if Calic's quest isn't just about restoring Underhill, but also about restoring balance to a world that's become fractured and divided.
Yeah,
It's a story about finding hope and healing in the face of overwhelming odds.
I like that.
And that's something I think we can all relate to on some level.
Okay, welcome back. We've spent the last 2 parts of this deep dive unpacking the world of A Court of Honey and Ash,
Yeah.
exploring everything from the shattering of Underhill to Calic's unique heritage.
Right.
But you know what's really got me hooked?
What's that?
This simmering tension between Calic and that mysterious guy she's in love with.
Oh, yeah.
The reviews don't reveal too much,
Right.
but the glimpses we get are tantalizing.
It's like a slow burn.
It is.
So you can feel the attraction there.
Uh-huh.
But there's all this other stuff getting in the way, like the quest,
Yeah.
the danger,
Right.
the fact that their world is literally falling apart around them.
Exactly. And remember how Calic's half-human?
Yeah.
Well, some of the reviewers are suggesting that the Fae in this world are really strict about bloodlines.
Oh, wow.
So imagine the societal pressure, maybe even prejudice she's facing on top of everything else.
Yeah.
It makes you wonder if this guy is holding back because of that, or if there's something more personal going on.
It's a brilliant way to layer conflict.
Yeah.
We've got the external conflict of the quest in the shattered realm.
Right.
But then we've got this internal conflict within Calic,
Right.
wrestling with her feelings for someone who might not be able to accept her for who she truly is.
It's a lot.
It's a recipe for some seriously angsty romance.
And don't forget, she's on the run from this guy, too.
Well, right.
I mean, talk about a complicated situation.
Yeah.
It makes me think of those classic enemies to lovers tropes, but with a fantasy twist.
What's fascinating is that this forbidden romance ties directly into the central mystery.
Oh, really?
Remember how Calic knows who shattered Underhill?
Uh-huh.
Well, some of the reviewers are speculating that her secret might be connected to this guy she's in love with.
Interesting.
Maybe he's involved somehow.
Yeah.
Or maybe his family is, and that's why he's keeping his distance.
Ooh, that's a juicy theory.
Yeah,
It would certainly explain the tension between them.
for sure.
It's like they're both caught in this web of secrets and lies.
Right.
And the truth could either bring them together or tear them apart.
It makes you realize that A Court of Honey and Ash isn't just a light, fluffy fantasy romance.
Right.
There's a real depth to the characters and their relationships.
Yeah,
And the stakes are incredibly high.
definitely.
We're not just talking about saving a magical realm.
Uh-huh.
We're talking about uncovering a truth that could potentially destroy everything Calic holds dear.
You know, one thing that really struck me in the reviews is how much readers are praising the world building.
Oh, yeah.
They're saying the authors have created this incredibly vivid and immersive world
Yeah.
with lush forests, shimmering waterfalls,
Hmm.
and hidden realms that sound absolutely breathtaking.
And those detailed descriptions aren't just window dressing.
Right.
They actually play a key role in the story.
Okay.
For example, several reviewers mentioned that the Fae draw their power from nature,
Interesting.
which is why the shattering of Underhill has such a devastating impact on them.
Yeah.
They've lost their connection to the very source of their magic.
Right. It's like their world is literally dying around them. And that sense of urgency and desperation permeates the entire story.
For sure.
It's not just a fun adventure.
Right.
It's a fight for survival.
And what I appreciate is that the authors don't shy away from the darker aspects of this world. They explore themes of prejudice, betrayal, and the corrupting nature of power.
Wow.
But they also highlight the enduring power of love, loyalty, and hope.
Yeah.
It's that balance between light and darkness that makes the story so compelling.
So it's got action, adventure, romance, mystery, a dash of social commentary,
It's a lot.
and a richly imagined world.
Yeah.
What more could you ask for in a fantasy novel?
It sounds like A Court of Honey and Ash has all the ingredients for a truly immersive and satisfying read.
I agree.
And you know what else I found intriguing?
What's that?
The ending.
Oh, tell me more. The reviewers were pretty tight-lipped about the details,
Yeah.
but they all hinted that it's a cliffhanger.
It is, and not just a will they won't they kind of cliffhanger, but a what the heck just happened and what does it mean for the future of this world kind of cliffhanger.
Whoa.
It seems like the authors have set the stage for a much larger story arc,
Okay.
one that will explore even deeper themes and challenge our assumptions about who the real heroes and villains are.
That's what I love about a good series.
What's that?
That sense of anticipation,
Yeah.
knowing that the journey has only just begun.
Right.
It sounds like A Court of Honey and Ash is just the tip of the iceberg.
Exactly. And it leaves you with so many questions.
Like what?
Will Calic be able to restore Underhill and save her people?
Yeah.
Will she uncover the truth about her own past and the mysterious shattering of the Fae realm? And what about the guy she's in love with?
Right.
Will their paths converge, or will fate keep them apart?
So many questions, and I guess the only way to find out the answers is to dive into the next book in the series.
Well, based on the overwhelmingly positive reviews and the sheer enthusiasm of the readers,
Yeah.
I'd say it's definitely worth the journey.
And there you have it, our deep dive into A Court of Honey and Ash.
That was fun.
We've explored the plot, the characters, the world, and the themes, and I don't know about you, but I'm definitely adding this book to my to-be-read list.
Me too. It sounds like the perfect escape for anyone who loves fantasy romance and a good dose of mystery.
Agreed.
And who knows, maybe we'll even do a deep dive into the next book in this series once you've had a chance to read it.
That sounds like a plan, but for now, we'll leave you with this final thought.
Okay.
If a single touch could shatter a realm built on ancient magic, what else might be possible in this world? It's a question worth pondering as you embark on your own journey into the world of A Court of Honey and Ash.
Happy reading, everyone.
Bye!